camping, and I wouldn't have cared. But I don't know. I guess it must have been a softie, you know. But they had internet there, so I did the internet all night long there, and you know, I even made a lot of videos there too. And I did the tour of Vienna. Vienna is where my great grandfather's from, and he was in the Vienna Voice Choir, and I wanted to see the Vienna Voice Choir on Sunday, but I didn't get up on time. But yeah, Vienna was really big and really pretty. The palace in Vienna is the biggest of any place I've ever seen. The palace grounds and the palace itself is gigantic, huge. I didn't see the Louvre, but I don't know, maybe it's bigger than that. It's where the Habsburgs were from. You know, the Habsburgs owned like all the way down to like Bosnia. You know, they owned fucking everything. So then I rode up north towards Prague. My second day, or I think it was my first day up there. My knee started hurting again, so I was like, and I got up in the morning and my knee hurt. Walking around, I was like, fuck, man, I'm not gonna be able to bike tour. Fuck it. I guess I'll just take the train around Europe then. But then I rode and I felt great and I didn't have any problems after that. So, but I rode up. Like, it was really cold one night and I rode up to Prague. It was like 3 days. But by the time I got to Prague, my ass had melted. My butt cheeks, between my butt, there was no skin left and it was excruciatingly painful to ride. Now, I think what happened was that, see, I've been wiping with leaves and twigs and stuff, and I think I got like infected with like a leaf twig, and I had like my shorts got way too dirty. So that's when I bought another pair of shorts and I had 2 pairs of shorts so that I could make sure that I had like a clean pair of shorts. So I stayed there for 3 nights at this really cool hostel, and there was the Prague Marathon that day. One of the days I was there, so I got to watch that and film it, and it was really fun. And Prague downtown has lots of pedestrian areas, lots and lots of pedestrian, like closed off to cars, you know, and Czechs, they seemed really, really nice. Like, there was this one Czech waitress right outside of Prague who was acting like I likened her to Natalia Kornovichia, like the, I don't know, like one of those, like, Russian, like, ballerina gymnast. She's like, yes, curtsied, like, yes, would you like any more tea? You know, formal. So then I go, so then I rode up north from Prague. From Prague, yeah, up towards Katowice, because I thought Katowice was the biggest city in Poland. I want to say the biggest city in Poland. From the map, it's just the most sprawling metropolis of Poland. Not the biggest city. It's just a bunch of little towns connected. Yeah, Poland was really poor. Really cheap, though. A lot of, you know, cobblestones on the road. Poland wasn't a good place to bike tour through. They're not good drivers. They passed me really fast, didn't give me a lot of room. They would pass each other, oncoming traffic passing each other, even though I'm coming. So, you know, you've got a car like 2 feet from me going 100 miles an hour in the opposite direction. They did that a lot in Poland. And I had a weird experience too in Poland. Like, it was raining really hard. I was in some like village town, tiny little village, going to some place to get a pizza. And there's all these Polish guys. I already talked about in this video, but I'm going to include in this video. All these Polish guys there drinking beer. And, you know, luckily they had food, but it was like microwave pizza, you know, like a piece of bread with like a piece of cheese on top of it. You know, and I ate it, but they were really interested in me. These Polish guys would come up to be totally wasted. Not a word of English, trying to communicate with me. Which made me annoyed me a little bit, made me feel a little bit uncomfortable. And they're like, just saying words. Lance Armstrong, you know, like, Britney Spears, you, where? Like, being totally, like, incoherent. And then another guy was doing the same thing, and his friend was trying to get him away. And so they're, like, wrestling. Like, he's, like, grabbing him and, like, pulling him, and he's like, no, and I was like, so that's when I was on the impression that the Poles are very touchy-feely. And I experienced that whole touchy-feely thing again, watching them doing the same thing in Warsaw. But anyways, and they had the hat. They had those weird, like, conductor hats on, like you see the Holocaust victims wear. They still wear those hats. And they still look like that, too. They still have the same facial feature. They kind of have, like, small chins. Maybe, like, teeth that go in. I don't know. I saw this one Polish kid, and it was like, did you warp drive from World War II concentration camp? You know? He's acting kind of weird too. He's like, "Where are you? What are you doing? What do you?" He's like homeless or something. I don't know. So, anyways, I rode my bike into Katowice through this really heavy rainstorm on the super highway. Nobody pulled me over. Stayed in a hotel. Those bastards, they took my my driver's license. They needed it as collateral, and they never gave it back to me. They're supposed to give that shit back. And so I lost my driver's license. And then I couldn't find my way out, but this guy led me. He's like, "Follow me," and so he led me, and he took me out. So I was under the impression that the Poles were really friendly. And then I rode down outside, and then I'm riding, and I look to the left, and it says, see, I wanted to go to Krakow, because I heard Krakow was like one of the places that got like hurt by the Nazis or whatever, but I'm southeast of Katowice, and I look to the left, and I see Auschwitz Museum, and I go, Auschwitz? Wasn't that like the biggest concentration camp? Am I in Auschwitz? So I go to the left, and I go, and it's like, holy fuck, this is Auschwitz. So that I went to a hotel, and I stayed hotel 2 nights. And I spent one full day doing the tour of Auschwitz, which I'm very glad I did. And that wasn't so expensive. It was nice to be in a cheap country. Then I rode down south, and I asked one chick, you know, which way is it to the next town? Because I had a really big map of all of Europe. So I would very frequently, pretty much every town I go to, have to ask people, which way is it to so-and-so town? Down that way or down that way, please? So I asked one chick, and she's like, "Oh, how are you doing? You want to come over for a drink of water or anything?" And I was like, "No, I'm heading straight. I'm going, but thanks anyway." That was nice. Yeah, so I go over some pass, and then I go into Slovakia, rode across Slovakia. Slovakia is a pretty... Oh, yeah, and I went over some, like, beautiful territory, hills, man. Crossing and getting lost, but tiny little road straight down. Oof, and then I'm in Slovakia. So southern Poland was really pretty. It was like Switzerland or something. Slovakia, riding through Slovakia. Slovakia has really interesting food. They have this, like, hamburger pizza. It's, like, as big as a pizza around, but as tall as a hamburger. Big, like, pita bread. With, like, all this lettuce and then some kind of, like, what was it? Cheese or, I don't know, something inside. It was simple, but it was a lot of food for the price. And I had free internet all over. And, man, and then I stayed in a hotel one night because it got really cold, and I was just like, fuck this cold. I want to get a hotel room, man. So I went to a hotel room. She said they had internet, but they didn't, but it didn't matter. They had TV, and I was watching the Giro d'Italia there. But, and then there was a girl working there, and that's kind of what I noticed, because it was the other girls at the restaurants, and then the girl at the hotel. They're really cute, man. And they're really, like, flirtatious. They were like, "Hey, yeah." I was like, wow, man. Fucking Slovakia, dude. Yeah. Look up. That was cool, man. Slovakian chicks, dude. So then I went down south. Next thing I know, and then I rode through Hungary. I stayed in a Hungarian hotel room for $66 because it was like raining really hard and it was really dark and I was really cold and tired after I had dinner at this hotel. I should have camped. See, this was toward the beginning of the trip, man, when I wasn't a hardball. Man, toward the end of the trip, I was a hard ass. It could have been raining cats and dogs and cold, and I would have been like, "All right, let's go, man. Let's go find a place to camp, man. It's going to be fun. Camping in the rain, yeah." But back then, I was like, so you get to be way more of a hardball, hard ass, as you go on in the trip. Although towards the very end of the trip, you can tend to spend a little money on like movies and stuff, is what I did. But I was still had no qualms about camping. So, anyways, then I went into Slovenia. I wasn't only in Slovenia for like 10 miles, 5 miles, 10 miles, but I stayed in a hotel there. The lady there was really friendly. And I remember in Slovenia, I was in the capital of Slovenia, Ljubljana, and there were these 2 girls who invited me to hang out with them one day, and they were really friendly. So, yeah, so my experience with Slovenia is that they're really friendly. But this woman, I don't think she was so good at... The first woman at night, she wasn't so good at English. And the next woman in the morning, the old lady, didn't speak any English. So then I rode through Slovenia, then I'm in Croatia, riding down the road in Croatia. I get funneled into a super highway. These road workers pull me off the highway, and then they all surround me, telling me I can't go anywhere. And then the cops show up, and the cops drive me off into some other road, and then they let me go. So they ride my bike down Slovenia, and they point me which way it is to Zagreb. Go to Zagreb. Stayed in Zagreb. I had the number to call to stay at a couchsurfing place from this chick from couchsurfing.com, but I didn't call for some reason. Just wasn't in the mood. Felt awkward or something. I don't know. Went to some hotel, and the guy in the hostel was gruff. And so my experience from the Croatians is that they're kind of gruff. They're kind of like grumpy. But one guy coming into the hostel was a Slovenian who looked exactly like the bad guy from Triple X. And all the guys there look like the bad guy from Triple X. They have the same exact hair. Hair like mine right now. Except cut. You know, kind of like the Dutch boy haircut, like that. But when I did see a guy with a Dutch boy haircut in the Netherlands, it was funny. Dutch boy haircut, when it goes down and its length, it's perfectly like flat like that and kind of goes in a little bit. Yeah, so he directed me and went out of his way to take me all the way to the hostel, and so that was really nice. And then I checked out the downtown center of Zagreb, which was really cool. Man, the Minister of Tourism in Zagreb in Croatia is really good. They have all these magazines for tourists, all the cool places to go. Croatia, best place for tourists. Yay, come visit our beaches. You know, or, look at the museum of this and that. And yeah, and then you go to the central square and it's like a freaking circus or something. It's like they've got all of these like, it's like time warp. All these people doing like artisanal, you know, historical stuff, making candles the way that you never knew they would make candles, and carving wooden things and this and that, and making all these things the original way that they did hundreds of years ago. It was really cool to look at, you know, and having people even dressed in the old traditional stuff. Yeah, so they really know how to market their tourism there. So then I rode down outside, and then I got my shoes. Well, I had to do a lot of bike work there. That's when my chain got bad. So I got a new chain, a new cassette, new tire. Watched some of the Giro d'Italia at some bar, pizza place with the guy who owned the bike shop right next to the bike shop. Then I had my shoe glued back, and then the guy directed me to where I could buy some more glue, which was nice. And then went out from Zagreb over down. Next thing I know, I'm riding through minefields. Every time I look, there's all these signs. And then I finally look. Oh yeah, and all these abandoned buildings. Abandoned towns. And then I look and it says, danger, minefield. I'm like, holy shit, man. So I guess those Serbians must have wreaked havoc in Croatia or something back in the 90s. And then I go into some town and I was a pussy again. Because it was like town. I didn't want to ride forever and not find a place. Stupid. Got a fucking hotel room for like $45, but it sure is nice to get a nice hotel room, man. At least at the beginning of the ride when I was with Softy, you know, have a shower, sleep in a bed when you're completely exhausted, you know. So I got up kind of late, left at 1:30. But the guy at the night, he's like, yeah, breakfast comes included. I'm like, well, when does it close? He's like, whenever. I was like, cool. Next morning I go at 11. The guy's like, breakfast closed, no breakfast. He's kind of being gruff too. Kind of like the guy at the hostel. And I'm like, I got really pissed off. I'm like, dude, the guy said last night there was breakfast, so you're giving me breakfast. So anyways, he was like, all right, so he gave me breakfast. And I had dinner the night before there at that hotel. And my God, were the portions big. I tried to back order. I tried to go, okay, is it too late to not have that? And he's like, no, too late. They already made it. Because I asked for a tomato soup. I didn't get a bowl of tomato soup. I got a fucking giganto bowl of tomato soup. It was awesome. So much food. And I had internet there. Good internet there. And then I rode out and I rode through and I went up some pass really fast. I was riding pretty hard at that. Pretty strong. By then, my legs had come into gear at, I don't know, a couple thousand miles in. 2,500. I can't remember. Month in. I don't know. Right. And yeah. And then I rode down and I busted into... Was that the day I rode all the way into... No. I rode into some little town and I got another hotel. I was kind of doing the hotel thing. I was on my hotel spurt for some reason. But it was a cool hotel. The guy who worked there was really nice. He was like, yeah, it wasn't an expensive hotel, but he's like, yeah, there's another hotel which is cheaper. And he told me where to go, and I went there and it was the same price, and they didn't have any rooms anyway, so I came back and I'm like, yeah, dude, that hotel is the same price as yours. And he's like, oh, I didn't know. So, yeah. So I stayed there. I saw some music videos from some Croatians, and I saw some Serbian music videos, and that's when I realized. And I saw a lot of Croatians and even more Serbians dressed in like sweatpants with